Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I get a lot of questions and messages about, and that is an ADN versus a BSN, or an associate's degree in nursing versus a bachelor's degree in nursing. I'm really curious how many people started out with an ADN, so comment down below and let me know if you went into an ADN program or directly into a BSN program. And if you're not in nursing school yet, let me know if you plan to go to an ADN program or a BSN program. There are pros and cons to both, and I'm going to go through those. Before I start, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and my background so you can understand where I'm coming from when I talk about certain things. So I did get my associate's degree in nursing at a community college, and then I started working as a nurse and got my BSN online in a one-year RN to BSN program. I am now in CRNA school, so I'm in a doctorate program to get my degree in nursing anesthesia, and I will graduate in 5 months and 4 days, not counting or anything. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of my background because a lot of people have questions about getting an ADN and then going on to CRNA school and if that impacts your ability to get in or not. In my opinion, it does not, but I'm going to touch on that more a little bit later. Right before I get started, I wanted to say I'm not pushing for either one of these degrees. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just talking about the pros and cons that I've seen in my experience. So we're going to start out by talking about the length of the program because that is a big deal to a lot of people. Getting your ADN takes 2 years, getting your BSN takes 4 years. So there's a big difference there. The BSN's double the length of the ADN program, and that can be hard for a lot of people to do that long of a program if you have responsibilities and kids and families and things like that, because you're not really able to work full time during the entire program, and you're obviously not working on a nurse's salary yet. So if you do an ADN program, you can start working after the 2 years and then get your BSN while you're working full time and getting that nurse's pay and getting that experience. So that's something that kind of impacts a lot of people's decisions, especially people who are going back as adult learners or as second careers because they want to keep working or they want to start working as a nurse as soon as possible. And that leads us right into the next thing, which is cost. Obviously, the longer program costs more, so BSN programs are more expensive than ADN programs. ADN programs are typically through community colleges. BSN programs are through universities, so the credit hours of ADN programs are less expensive, and there's way more credits with a BSN program, so that one's more expensive for that reason as well. The average cost of an ADN versus BSN program depends on a lot of different factors, depends on what state you live in, if you're in state, out of state, if you're at a public or private school. So the cheapest way to get your RN is to go to an ADN program at a public community college with in-state tuition. Now let's talk about the curriculum. So there are some differences in the curriculums. They both have the same core classes. So in your ADN and your BSN, you're going to get your pharmacology, your med surg, your psych nursing, your OB nursing, your main nursing classes. Now, some of the big curriculum differences are public health. The bachelor's degree has a big emphasis on public health. At least those were the differences between my ADN and my BSN, and research was a huge difference. So I didn't do research in my ADN program. We did a project to graduate, an evidence-based practice project, but we didn't do a huge research project like we did for our BSN. And in my BSN, I actually did several papers and things like that that I didn't have to do in my ADN. Another difference in my BSN program, we had a lot more focus on geriatric nursing, advanced aging populations. We did cover that in my ADN, but we covered it in depth in my BSN. We also had advanced pharmacology in my BSN and advanced pathophysiology. So those were some of the main differences I saw, as well as more nursing theory classes in the BSN. So curriculum-wise, the point of an ADN is to get you out there, able to be an RN, able to pass your boards, and able to provide safe nursing care. And you get all those classes, those core classes that you need to do that in your ADN. Your BSN gets you the extra stuff to be able to move up in nursing, move up through their clinician roles, maybe move into a management role, and to also pursue your education further, get your master's, your doctorate, things like that. Which conveniently leads me into the next topic, and that is the ability to pursue further education if you started out with your ADN. So in order to pursue further education and to go on to a master's or doctorate degree or a PhD, you have to have your bachelor's first. So ADN, BSN, then you can move on to advanced practice or further education. Now, a question I get a lot is if you are trying to move on to nurse practitioner school or CRNA school or anything advanced in nursing, is starting with your ADN gonna look bad on your applications? Are people gonna see that negatively? And in my opinion, no. I have not had that experience. And one of the benefits I actually found when I was applying to grad school and things like that is I had longer experience in the hospital because I had been an ADN nurse. And when I was in my ADN program, I was able to work as a tech or a patient care assistant, whatever the hospital you're at calls it. So I just had a lot of experience, and it helped me get my foot in the door in a lot of places. So I thought having my ADN was beneficial. I don't think an ADN has an advantage over a BSN. I think in some cases a BSN could have an advantage academically, a straight BSN over an ADN, because some people view RN to BSN programs, especially those done online, in a negative way. I just made sure to get my RN to BSN from a reputable university. I went to James Madison University for my RN to BSN online. I just recommend you choose somewhere that has a good nursing school and not an online college that nobody really knows about their nursing program and that does not have an ADN program, or a straight bachelor's program without the RN first. Okay, now let's talk about jobs. First, let's talk about getting a job with an ADN versus a BSN. Now, this is where a BSN does have an advantage over an ADN. So when you're applying as a new grad, ADN nurses and BSN nurses are obviously in competition for jobs, and a lot of hospitals, especially bigger academic hospitals, magnet hospitals, level 1 trauma centers, want BSN prepared nurses. So a BSN prepared nurse may have an advantage over you with an ADN and may have a better time getting a job as a new grad, especially the job they want, than you will with an ADN. There are things you can do to get your foot in the door. I'm gonna make a whole video about this because it's too much to put in this video, and just know that the BSN will have the advantage if it comes down to applications and them trying to choose who's going to get the job without a lot of background information. But also know that that does not mean you cannot get the job you want. Speaking of jobs, we're now going to talk about the pay differences. So in my experience, most ADN and BSN nurses do not get paid differently. And if they do, it was $1 an hour. So the places I've worked, the ADN and BSN nurses either got paid the same amount or the BSN nurses made $1 more an hour. And then also if you get your CCRN or certification in whatever field you work in, you can make more money like that. So some places would give you another $1 an hour if you had a certification. So basically the pay difference is not very big, but there can be a pay difference, but there also may not be a pay difference. So that's a little bit confusing to answer because every hospital is so different. I wanted to answer one more question, or just talk about one more thing that I think is important to address, and that is our ADN or BSN prepared nurses that are starting out as new grads. And honestly, I would say that they are equal because neither one really has experience. I think that having your ADN or BSN does not make you a better nurse, but I do think that your experiences in nursing school can make you better when you first start out, like a clinical practicum in a certain area. But basically, I started out with BSNs in my group of new grads and also ADNs, and we all pretty much learned at the same pace. We all started out knowing nothing. Having that advanced degree and that extra theory doesn't make you a better nurse, but it does make you better able to work on projects, committees, and move into higher roles. We had to do an evidence-based practice project for our new grad orientation, and the BSN prepared nurses knew a lot more about doing that research than we ADN prepared nurses do, and they were very helpful helping us figure out how to structure it all and things, but they definitely had the leg up on doing that research in that project. I would say if there are any differences starting out as new grads, the degree doesn't matter. It's probably a personality thing, and further down the line when everybody has experience, I doubt you could tell the difference between who has what degree. Now really quick before I wrap this video up, I just wanted to give you my opinion on the different degrees and what route to take, what route was right for me. So I was worried about finances. I didn't want to go into a lot of debt trying to pay for school, so the ADN route was right for me. I decided I wanted to do that and then get my RN to BSN when I was working online so I could make money while I was working. And also the hospitals a lot of times will pay for your RN to BSN if you're already working there. The hospital that I started working out at was University of Virginia, and they hired me as an ADN nurse, but I signed a contract that said I would start my BSN within 1 year of starting my job, and then I would have to graduate it within 3 years of starting my job. And if that did not happen, the contract basically stated that I would be let go. So that was their way of being inclusive of ADN nurses because they really like ADN nurses and wanted to hire them. We did our clinicals there and things like that, but also making sure that everybody would end up with a BSN because they are a magnet hospital and need to have a certain number and percentage of their staff nurses as BSN prepared nurses. If you have the time and resources to go straight for your BSN, by all means go for it, because that is obviously the more efficient route, because you can start out and then just get it all done. You're already in school mode. You don't need to work the whole time. You don't need to start working as an RN in the middle of all this. So doing the BSN straight out would be better academically. I think it would help you stay focused. You would be able to have a continuation of your education with no interruptions. But for those that need a little bit more flexibility and the ability to start working sooner, the ADN and then going back and getting your BSN later is the best route. But really the end goal here is to become an RN, and as long as you become an RN and get to achieve your dreams and do what you want, no matter how you get there, it is an awesome accomplishment, and ADNs should be just as proud as BSNs and vice versa. All right, that is it for my ADN versus BSN video. I hope you found it helpful and informational. I hope you learned a little bit from it, and if you had questions, I hope it answered them. If your questions did not get answered, make sure you leave them down below in the comments and I'll answer those for you guys. And I will follow up with a video about the best way to get a job that you want as a new grad, whether you have your ADN or your BSN. So that video will be coming out soon. I hope you guys have a great week, and as always, I will see you next week.